everyone, this is Cody Rogers, and today we're going to be taking a look at 2 fanfictions based on background ponies. This is obviously for the My Little Pony 100th episode that is coming out in a couple of weeks. Originally, I was going to do a review based on another My Little Pony fanfiction, but this review was kind of a lot to tackle. So, here it is, the fanfiction background pony extravaganza that will only be 2 reviews. I should have planned this out a lot better. I'm sorry, what? Of course. I'm sorry, people. You might not know me since I was only in 1 video on this channel, and that's a video not many people saw. But, well, I am going to be handling the fanfiction reviews on this channel. It will be mostly mediocre videos like this, but I will plan on making, better content and whatnot. Keep in mind, this was my first fanfiction review. It's the second fanfiction review on this channel, sure, but it's the first fanfiction review that I've done myself. Now then, on with the review. Cue intro scene! Just don't come like this.
Human beings fascinate me, being just the way they are. Tell me, little pony, can you push a cart or drive a car? Lyre is my instrument, but humans strum their sweet guitar. It's a mystery. Anthropology. Shh.
Thank you, Pit, for editing that. That was a very fine choice of song there. Who else was introduced to the fanfiction after hearing that song? I see a few hands raised there. Yep. Those are definitely a few hands raised. Great job, guys. Me too. Oh, I feel so ashamed. Anthropology, in my opinion, is one of the greatest fanfictions of all time, and certainly one of, in my opinion, the best things to come out of this fandom in a long time. And this came out a whopping 3 years ago! And man, do I love this story. Every time I read it, it just makes me wish there was a sequel even more. Which is a difficult feat if you are me. The only fan work I've ever wanted a sequel to was Turnabout Storm. And while we're on that subject, make a bloody sequel to Turnabout Storm! There are way too many unanswered questions. I don't care if it's not a video, just make an official sequel! Anyways, it seems that a lot of people agree with me, as this has less dislikes than most popular stories I've seen in this fandom. In my opinion, it is just a great story with a few, well, major problems, unfortunately. But I'll talk about those later in the review. For now, the good stuff.
Anthropology.
This story is quite fascinating. Heartstrings, or as she prefers to be called, Lyra, was a normal unicorn filly, until one day she found a couple books on mythical creatures called humans, who had, get this, hands, despite, minotaurs having them. Anyways, 12 years later, she is still pursuing her research on humans, and this kinda, makes her roommate, Bonbon, annoyed, let's say the least. Lyra tries out some wacky experiments to be more human, and each time, Bonbon grows angrier and angrier, yada yada yada. Something about the gala, heartwarming Eve, Nightmare Night, a conspiracy, a few flashbacks early on, and we end up figuring out that Lyra is, get ready for this, a human!
That's not true! That's impossible!
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
Now, Luke, I know it might seem like a terrible decision at first glance, It's actually a really, really clever thing to the...
It is the only way.
He jumped. Vader, I'm sorry.
Oh sure, jump. See what I care. So, Lyra is told by the princess that she has two options. Either go to the human world, or
Die!
But she chooses the third option. Blows up Canterlot Castle and gets out of there just in time for breakfast.
Well, at least that's what I would have done myself. I mean, you know me, whacking the head off. Mom, where'd you go?
Well, the other option wasn't actually a death sentence. It was more of a forget all this happened, but I prefer my way. And I know you do as well. Anyways, she actually decides on the second option and goes into the human world. Lyra was told she would never return, but then she returns, but that's later. She actually ends up a few miles from the capital of France, Des Moines. She walks there and decides she is really, really hungry.
And I mean like really, really hungry.
So she does what she always does for money. Begs. By playing her lyre in the park. Which is a kind of important plot point actually. But it's not as important as Audrey, who takes Lyra in as her own. And by takes her in as her own, I mean takes him to McDonald's. And it's a glorious disaster. Poor Audrey. Lyra just can't accept that meat is the most amazing thing ever. Oh well, at least it's funny.
Until you realize Lyra can't have bacon, that is. Worst background pony, you mother...
So she stays at Audrey's house for a while, and then she suddenly realizes that she wants to join a band. So Nathan, Audrey's good friend, decides to give Lyra his guitar, which he was planning to sell on eBay. And then a guy named Randall is introduced. She goes to a concert, figures out Randall knows who her parents are, and Lyra sets out to find him. She gets on a plane and is afraid, but thankfully is reassured by Paul, who thinks she is kind of nuts. And then...
Yeah, alright, touchdown, yeah!
So, our favourite green-haired vegetarian former pony human arrives at the airport in Philadelphia, and she meets her mother there.
Mommy, I love you! I'm sorry, force of habit. I mean, Lyra's mother.
So anyways, Laura's like, hey Mom, and Mom's all like, get in the car.
I may be exaggerating a few things a bit.
But this is just a summary of the story. And I don't have time to get every single detail correct. And they both get home. Lyra's father, who is an author, arrives there not long after with Lyra's young sister, Chloe. What a wonderful family reunion. But uh-oh, Lyra might not be their long-lost daughter after all. Spoiler alert, she is. And she gets a test to prove she is. And she is. But not after meeting the last of her human friends, Monica.
Monica, boy! Come in, bring it in!
And she works at a library, where she proceeds to give Lyra directions to the history section and the unicorn section.
Because, you know, why not? I suspect this one.
So Lyra goes back home and figures out that she is indeed a Michaelakos.
Hooray for Lyra! Yay!
She then gets a phone on her birthday and is allowed to stay in the house because, you know, I mean, it's kind of obvious that she would be allowed to stay in the house. I mean, it is, after all, her family's house. But all is not well when one day a Jaconaquist starts to cause some trouble. The famous Discord.
Ah yes, Discord when I hated him.
I mean, sure, I started to like him when he became a good guy in the show, but when he was a villain, I kinda thought he wasn't as big a threat as he could have been. He was just a child, basically. So he turns Lyra back into a unicorn, then heads to New York City. Lyra goes back home and old Pops figures out that she is a pony. And was like, what? And I'm all like, what? Lyra is sent back to Equestria where she meets good old Bonbon again. Great to see ya, Bonbon. They go to Canterlot and somehow end up with all 6 elements of harmony. Then they go back to the human world and the elements of harmony don't work on old Discord. But they meet up with good old Randall in New Yorkshire City. So then Lyra calls Audrey and Nathan calls Audrey. Lyra gets Paul and Monica. Nathan and Audrey get to Philadelphia and they form
The Honorary Unicorn Squad, which is actually the new name of my band.
So they drive all the way back to New York, where they proceed to almost get stomped on by the Ghostbusters.
Sorry! My fault!
They find Discord and go all cheese on him. They fire a rainbow laser of death at him, and he gets deaded by the lasers. A while after, Lyra goes back to Ponyville to discuss with the princess about stuff, and Lyra says hi to Bonbon, and we end where we started, with a piece of cake.
Anthropology.
As far as the good goes, the story is definitely the weakest part of the, well, story. But the good parts definitely do stand out compared to the bad parts. Despite there being more bad parts of the story than, good parts of the story. The good stuff comes from the ideas in general. The idea of Lyra being obsessed with humans, along with the plot elements, is great. I really love the story about her family, and it's really nice to read or listen to. But I can't really get into any of the details without talking about the characters, so that's about all I can say good about the story, unfortunately.
Anthropology.
Oh my gosh, the pacing is off by a mile. It's either moving at a snail's pace or going faster than on guard at full speed. A lot of the story goes nowhere, and some stuff is too focused on when it shouldn't be. And Discord just popping in out of the blue is stupid. They barely mention him at all, and when they do, you forget about it like 5 million chapters later.
Hey, look, by the way, there's this guy named Darth Vader. He might be your father, I don't know. He basically runs the whole thing, but that's not important. What's important is that...
Alright, I'll remember it. Thanks, Ben.
That's Obi-Wan!
Oh. Thanks, Obi-Wan.
No, don't sass me, kid!
Oh, hey, I think I was told about you once.
I am your father.
Well, I should be shocked, but, you were introduced so late into the story and you were only mentioned like once. So, I guess I'm not really shocked.
I mean, it just doesn't work.
But despite all the problems I have with the story, they do pale in comparison to the good thing about the story. Though, it is just one good thing. And that's all I can say about that. Let's move on to the real meat of the story. The characters.